So today I'll be showing you how I make these fairy berry hoodies. A very popular design that I have a written tutorial for on both of my websites. I will link them down below. But in the written pattern, I have better ways to measure and get a good fitting of your own personal hood. The starting chain is what will really matter the most. So the hood on the left has a starting chain of 11 and the hood on the right 14 inches. A better view of the two versions that I made, a smaller one with kitten ears and a larger one with pom-pom ears. The larger one really frames your face and warps outwards like an oversized hoodie would. This is really based on your personal preference, and the larger one had a starting chain of 14 inches and the smaller fitted one had a starting chain of 11 inches. So for this project, I recommend using weight 4 yarn and a 4.5mm hook. I've seen other people use chunky yarn for this project and just a larger hook. Your row counts will be different than mine, but yeah, feel free to experiment with this one and just have fun with the colors and textures. Okay, we're going to jump right into it. Make a chain that is at least 11 inches long and make sure it is in multiples of 3. This part is important for our granny clusters. It needs to be in multiples of 3. Now that you have your chain in multiples of 3, you're going to chain an additional 4 stitches. You will insert 1 double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. This now counts as 2 double crochet stitches. Insert 1 more double crochet into the 1st stitch, and this completes your first cluster. You're going to skip 2 chains and insert a cluster in the next available stitch. I will use these terms interchangeably, but 3 double crochet is a cluster. You will skip 2 more chains and insert a cluster in the next available stitch, and repeat this all the way down to the end of your chain. I will meet you there. Okay, I am at the end of my chain and I inserted 1 cluster after skipping 2 chains. At the end, if your stitch count is correct, you should have a cluster in the very last stitch. Now we're going to increase in this stitch and work our way around on the opposite side of the chain. This will form the back base of our hood. So you're going to start by chaining 2, stay in that same stitch and insert 3 double crochet. So this is your first increase cluster at the tip of your hood. Okay, and we're going to repeat the same process on the opposite side by skipping 2 chains and inserting a cluster. This side's pretty easy because you can just insert your clusters into the previous clusters, and these sides will be identical to each other. So repeat this all the way down by inserting 3 double crochet into the previous clusters, and once you get to the end of the row, make sure you still insert 3 double crochet in that last chain. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and work to the end of the chain, and I'm going to insert 3 double crochet in that last stitch to make both rows identical. I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn and fasten off too because I prefer to change colors each row, but yes, they are identical, same stitches on each side with an increase at the top. And a little side note, when I change colors, I hate weaving in my ends, so I create something called the fisherman's knot. This method isn't for everybody, but I find it to be quick and easy, and it's actually really secure, and I'm able to change colors and save some time at the end of my project. Okay, we're going to start row 2 by inserting our yarn and hook into the first stitch. You're going to chain 3. This counts as your first double crochet stitch. Now we aren't making any chains between clusters, we're just working directly into spaces. So go ahead and insert 3 double crochet into that next available space. We're going to repeat this all the way to the tip of the hood where we had that increase by inserting clusters in between previous clusters. So continue this all the way down until we get to that chain 2 space at the top. So continue this all the way to the chain 2 space. Okay, as you can see, I inserted clusters between the previous clusters, and now that I'm at the tip, you're going to make 1 more increase. So 3 double crochet, you're going to chain 2 and insert 3 double crochet into that same chain 2 space. So we have another increase at the top of our hood. Now we're going to work our way down with just clusters in between the previous clusters. So 3 double crochet in each space all the way to the end. Once you get to the end, we're going to insert 1 double crochet stitch into that last stitch. This will make it identical to the opposite side, and it will help flatten out our pieces when we start working with these clusters more. So 1 double crochet in the last stitch. I'm going to cut my yarn and attach a new yarn for row 3. Okay, beginning row 3, we're going to insert our yarn and hook into that last stitch. You're going to chain 3 and count as your first double crochet. Insert 2 double crochet into that same space to complete the cluster. And now we're going to insert clusters in each space all the way down to the end. We will not be increasing at the top of the hood anymore. So 3 double crochet in each of the available spaces, and both sides should be identical until the end. Like I said, once we get to the top, there will be no more increases, so just insert 3 double crochet into that chain 2 space and work your way around the opposite side with clusters in each space. Okay, so at the end of my row, I inserted 3 double crochet in that last space to make it identical to the opposite side. And to start row 4, we're basically going to be repeating row 2 and alternating row 2 and 3 back and forth. Okay, to start row 4, we are going to insert yarn and hook into that first stitch. You're going to chain 3 and do the same thing that you did on row 2. Turn your work, skip to the next available space, and insert a cluster into that space. So 3 double crochet in the next available space, and we're going to insert 3 double crochet in each space all the way around to the end. There will be no increases at the top again, so just clusters in each space. And at the end of your row, you need to end with 1 double crochet in the final stitch, just like we started with. Okay, I am at the end of row 4. I'm going to insert a cluster in this last space, and in the last stitch, put 1 double crochet stitch. This is going to keep our granny clusters flat at the end. Now we're going to repeat those last 2 rows, alternating them back and forth for a total of 7 rows. Right now we have 4, so 5 and 6 and 7, we'll be alternating with either starting with 1 double crochet or starting with 1 cluster. Make sure that your sides are identical and you alternate them the way that we have been doing. Okay, I just finished row 5 and I want to show you that I did start with a granny cluster, and there's a cluster in each space, and I ended with a granny cluster. Now for row 6, I'm going to start with a double crochet, a cluster in each space, and then end with 1 double crochet in the last stitch. Okay, I just completed row 6 off camera, and I started with 1 double crochet, a cluster in each space around, and ended with 1 double crochet in the last stitch. And finally, I finished row 7. I started with the granny cluster and ended with the granny cluster. And as you can see, we have straight edging. Now we need to start making our increase rounds so the hood can start framing our shoulders and face. Okay, so change colors as you'd like and start in the first stitch. You're going to insert your yarn and hook, and we're going to make our first increase. Our increases will only be at the beginning and the end. So turn your work and insert 2 more double crochet into that same stitch. And that is our first increase. Now work clusters in each space down to the end, and in the last stitch, you're going to insert 3 double crochet stitches in that very last stitch. Okay, I am at the end of row 8 and I am ending with an increase, so 3 double crochet stitches in that last stitch. We are going to repeat row 8 4 more times to continue building the frame for the front of our face. So you're going to start and end with an increase, and that is it. So I've attached my new yarn. You're going to insert your yarn and hook into that same stitch and chain 3. And so you're going to turn your work, insert 2 more double crochets into that same stitch, and repeat like we did for row 8. Insert a cluster in each of the available spaces, work your way all the way around to the end, and you're going to end with 3 double crochet in the last stitch. Repeat this 3 more times until you are at row 13. Okay, I went ahead and repeated row 8 4 more times for a total of 5 increase rows. Remember, you're only increasing at the beginning and end stitches. Okay, we are no longer making increase rows, so we're going to do like we did in the beginning and repeat rows 2 and 3. So you're going to insert your yarn and hook into that first stitch, chain 3, counts as your first double crochet. Now skip to the next available space and insert 3 double crochet. Repeat this all the way down to the other side with a cluster in each space, and you will end your row with 1 double crochet in the last stitch. And I will meet you there. Okay, I am ending row 13 with 1 double crochet stitch in the last stitch, and I will show you how to do row 14. Okay, then we're going to start our next row by inserting 3 double crochet into that same space. We're going to insert a cluster in each space all the way down to the opposite end. Once you get to the end, in that last available space, insert 3 double crochet stitches. Okay, after row 14, I like to try my hood on. This is going to be different based on what tension you used, your yarn size, and your hook size. But I think that this is the measurement that I want to start before I add my several inches of border rows. So we're going to add about 2 or 3 extra rows now, and they are basically going to be front post and back post double crochet stitches. So if you need to add more length before your border rows, continue repeating the last 2 rows until you're ready to go to the border. Okay, now moving on to the border, we're basically going to do a row of solid double crochet stitches, but we're going to have 1 increase. So start in that first stitch and insert 3 double crochet stitches. That will be your first increase. Now you're going to insert 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way down to the end. Except when you get to the end, you need to insert 3 double crochet stitches in that last stitch, just like we did in the beginning. Okay, I'm making my way down to the end with 1 double crochet in each stitch, and in that last stitch I'm going to insert 3 double crochet. This will be the final time that we make increases on our hood. And I'm not going to cut my yarn off for my next row. For my border, I actually like to keep my yarn the same. So turn your work, chain 3, and we're going to start making our front post and back post double crochet stitches. So in the next stitch, you're going to make a front post double crochet. Now this can get a little tricky if you've never done it before. It can get a little awkward, but it's basically a regular double crochet, but it's just how you insert it onto the stitch. So after that front post, you're going to make a back post double crochet. This can get a little fidgety, but you're going to turn your work, grab that back double crochet stitch of the previous row, and make 1 double crochet stitch. Now you're going to continue alternating your front post and back post stitches all the way down to the end. It's going to make this really nice textured ribbing effect. In your last stitch, insert 1 solid double crochet. Do not try to do a front post or back post in that last stitch because it gets a little awkward when starting your next rows. Now, once you're done with this row of front post and back post, you can either repeat it 1 or 2 more times for a thicker brim, or cut your yarn and fasten off like I did because I reached my desired coverage. As you can see, this method creates a really nice textured ribbing, and I just love how it finishes a project. Okay, now that the base of your hood is done, I like to add some optional braided fringe to the front 2 corners of the hood. For the fringe, I like to gather up like 8 or 10 strands of yarn, about 3-4 feet in length, and fold it in half. You're going to take your bundle of strings and insert it into this front loop, and basically tie a knot. Okay, once you make your knot, this part gets a little bit messy depending on the length of your string, but you can divide it into 3 sections and start to braid your string all the way down. You are going to repeat this process for the second side with the exact same length strands and the exact same amount of yarn. Okay, this last step is optional, but I'm going to show you how to create some kitten ears and put them onto your hood. Okay, I like to use a smaller hook for this section, so I size down by either 0.5 or a whole millimeter. You're going to start with a chain 2. Insert 1/2 double crochet into the first chain of that hook. Insert 3 more half double crochet into that same stitch. Now you have a total of 4 half double crochets. You're going to chain 2, insert 4 more half double crochet into that same stitch. This will give you a total of 8 half double crochets for row 1. Okay, and this is what the end of row 1 should look like, a pointed triangle ear. To begin row 2, you're going to chain 2. This counts as your first half double crochet. Insert 1 more half double crochet into the same stitch. I recommend being very careful with these next couple rows because it can get kind of tricky finding your stitches. But now you should have 2 half double crochet. You're going to insert 1 half double crochet in the next 3 stitches. Once you get to that chain 2 space, you're going to make another increase, insert 1 half double crochet, chain 2, 1 more half double crochet, 1 half double crochet in the next 3 stitches, And when you get to the end, you're going to insert 2 half double crochet in the last stitch. This one can get a little, it can hide from you because it's that chain 2 from the original row 1. So make sure you count your stitches as you go. Now you should have 5 half double crochets on each side and 2 half double crochets in the chain 2 space. Okay, now we're going to begin row 3. Chain 2 and turn your work. Insert 1 more half double crochet into that same stitch, counts as an increase. Now 1 half double crochet in the next 5 stitches. 3, 4, 5. And once you get to that chain 2 space, insert 1 half double crochet, chain 2, 1 half double crochet. This is forming the point of our ear. 1 half double crochet in the next 5 stitches. And once you get to that last hidden stitch, insert 2 half double crochet stitches. So you are ending with another increase. This helps our ears not get too warped. Now row 4 is optional for people who would like a larger ear. If you do not want to do this, then you can just wait till the next row for a border. So you're going to chain 2, turn your work, insert 1 half double crochet into the same stitch, 1 half double crochet into the next 7 stitches. And once you get to the chain 2 space, you're going to do 1 half double crochet, chain 2, 1 half double crochet. On the opposite side, you're going to insert 1 half double crochet into the next 7 stitches. And once you get to the end, insert 2 half double crochet in the last stitch. And for those who did not do this larger round, we are about to do the border rounds. I recommend using a different color for the border rounds, but I personally am just showing you how to do it and not what I normally would have done color-wise. So for the border of the ear, you're going to chain 1, does not count as a stitch, turn your work and insert 2 single crochet into that same stitch. Now you're going to insert a single crochet into each of the remaining stitches until you get to the tip of your ear. I do recommend having a different border color if you really want your ears to stick out, or maybe adding some fur yarn, but that is totally up to you. When you get to the top chain 2 space, for a rounded out ear, you can insert 3 single crochet into that space, or for a pointed ear, like I'm about to do, you can insert 1 half double crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 half double crochet. And I just prefer this for a pointy ear. Then all the way to the end, insert 1 single crochet in the remaining stitches and end with 2 single crochet in that last stitch. When cutting your yarn, make sure you leave a long tail to sew onto your hood, and that starting yarn that you had, you can just leave that end in. Once you're done with the first ear, go ahead and make a second identical ear. Find the middle of your hood, and I like to personally add my ears around rows 12 and 13. I also like to keep my ears about 3 inches apart from each other. So I'll usually sew the first one on about an inch or 2 away from the middle, and then sew my second ear on the same exact distance away. You could also try on your hood before permanently sewing your ears on. I recommend this, and then really measuring out where you'd like them to sit on your head. And that concludes this tutorial for the Fairy Beary Hood. Here are both of my versions, the smaller one with the kitten ears and the larger one with the pom-pom ears. So yeah, have fun with this one, and thank you so much for watching.